1. There are late nights when the world has finally fallen silent, when you are no longer pulled away by messages, work, or external demands, and for the first time all day, you sit still long enough to look at yourself. Often it happens as a year draws to a close, when we whisper to ourselves that this time will be different, that 2026 could be the turning point. But before any plan takes shape, a phrase echoes in your mind, so familiar it's almost subconscious. If only it weren't for. If only it weren't for my family. If only it weren't for this job, for the lack of money, for that person. Perhaps life would have taken a different path. These reasons aren't fake. They are real. They are human. And because they are so real, you have carried them for a long time without realizing where exactly you've placed them in the architecture of your life. There is a lingering feeling that accompanies these thoughts. It isn't quite despair. It's more like sitting in the passenger seat of your own life. You are still living, still working, still fulfilling your responsibilities, but your hands are not on the wheel. You wait for circumstances to shift, for others to change, for a more favorable moment. Meanwhile, deep inside, something is quietly draining away your sense of agency. 2026 stands before you not as a rose-colored promise, but as a silent test. Before we speak of change, before we speak of discipline or Stoic philosophy, there is one question you can no longer avoid. How long have you believed that your life is decided by things beyond your control? If this question makes you feel uncomfortable, do not turn away. That discomfort is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you still feel, that you are still aware something is not right. And if you are still here, perhaps a part of you is also wondering, in this year of 2026, how much longer will you remain in the passenger seat? Or is it finally time to take back the wheel, even if the road ahead is not yet clear? 2. The trap of toxic positivity. The world loves to offer a phrase that sounds kind. Hang in there, just stay positive. But if you observe long enough, you realize most of those words aren't meant to rescue you from suffering. They are simply meant to stop others from having to hear your truth. This is where toxic positivity begins, at the moment you learn to smile quickly and nod reflexively, only to turn away carrying everything that remains unfinished inside. You still go to work, you still get things done, you still answer, "I'm fine," when someone asks, but your body does not lie. It speaks through nights of unexplained insomnia, through a restlessness that lingers even when nothing is wrong, and through a strange emptiness, not painful enough to make you cry, but heavy enough to make every morning feel like an uphill battle. You haven't healed the pain. You've only learned to hide it, like spreading a beautiful rug over a floor that is cracking beneath. There is a price for that mask. It isn't a loud price, but a silent, grinding tension. It keeps your nervous system in a state of code red, never truly resting, never truly letting go. Day after day, you live like a string pulled taut, not yet broken, but no longer elastic. And eventually, you burn out. Not because of a single grand tragedy, but because you've had to be okay for far too long. Here's the truth. Positivity was never about denying reality. The Stoics don't teach you to cheer up, be strong, or think happy thoughts when things are falling apart. They point to something else, something far more practical. You don't need to change your emotions like you change your clothes. You need to change the meaning you assign to what is happening. Emotions are like the weather. There are rainy days and there are windy days. You cannot control them. But the meaning you give to the rain, that is your steering wheel. And the steering wheel is what decides whether you keep driving or pull over to the side of the road. A resilient person isn't someone who is always smiling. They are someone brave enough to look directly into their own darkness, call it by its true name, and refuse to let it write their identity. The moment you stop forcing yourself to be okay, you begin to reclaim what was lost long ago. The right to be honest with yourself. 3. The Stoic lens, the soul and the color of thought. Stoicism does not teach you to ignore. Stoicism teaches you to see with absolute clarity. Marcus Aurelius once shared a truth, quiet yet profound. The soul becomes dyed by the color of its thoughts. Life is not decided by the events that crash into you, but by the silent dialogue that takes place in your head afterward. An event is merely a stone falling, but it is the label you stick onto that stone that decides whether it crushes you or becomes a stepping stone for you to rise. You are criticized in front of a crowd. That is the event, no more, no less. But the moment you whisper, "I'm a failure, I'm ruined," you are the one pushing yourself down. However, if you are awake enough to say, "This is data. What part of this is true, I will fix. What part is trash, I will discard," you don't collapse. You grow. Stoicism doesn't turn you into someone without feelings. It turns you into the person holding the pen. You hold the pen to edit the meaning. You hold the pen so that fleeting emotions don't get to ghostwrite your identity. You hold the pen to distinguish between the fact and the story you are telling yourself about it. And when you remember that you have that right, the right to choose your perspective, the right to name your experience, a very different feeling emerges. It isn't excitement. It isn't optimism. It is clarity. I still have a move to make. Because if you do not choose your thoughts will choose you. And most of the time, they are not on your side. 4. The climax of truth, the moment you stand up within. There is a truth that isn't easy to hear, but if you ignore it, you will spend your entire life trapped in the same loop. Most of the default thoughts in your head are not on your side. They aren't necessarily evil, but they aren't loyal either. They are echoes of old fears, of accumulated exhaustion, of habits that once helped you survive but are now only holding you back. The tragedy for many is not a lack of ability. It is that they hand over their power to an invisible dictator, the automatic mind. It whispers, "Just rest," and you stop. It says, "You're not good enough," and you withdraw. It suggests, "Look at them, and look at you," and you crush yourself in silence. Then comes a moment, tiny yet profoundly real, not loud, not heroic. The moment you realize, I am not these thoughts. You are the one witnessing them. You stand in the middle of a torrent of doubt and distraction, take a deep breath, and for the first time, you do not react. You whisper, just loud enough for yourself to hear, "I hear you, but I am not giving you the wheel." You don't fight it. You don't suppress it. You simply refuse to be swept away. This is where freedom begins. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to do what you know is right, even when your emotions haven't caught up yet. A kind of freedom that is very quiet, yet very firm. And you come to understand one more thing. To stand firm in this moment, willpower alone is not enough. You need something to help you hold the steering wheel when life starts to shake. Not slogans, not fleeting motivation, but a system of internal boundaries, principles clear enough that you won't lose your way when the mind begins to get noisy again. 5. The 16 core principles. Building inner boundaries, keeping the mind clear. Everything begins with a common misunderstanding, that positivity means feeling good. But if you have ever tried to think positive while exhausted, you know that emotions do not take orders. Therefore, the first principle of Stoicism is not to change your feelings, but to train a different muscle, the muscle of interpretation. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you learn to ask, "Who is this training me to become?" When the question shifts direction, power follows. But to achieve this, you must stop granting absolute power to your mind. The mind is brilliant at offering opinions, but it is a terrible leader. It whispers, it threatens, it exaggerates. If you give it a vote in every decision, you will live by fear rather than intention.
Stoicism doesn't tell you to suppress your thoughts. It simply tells you not to believe everything you think. Once you are no longer led by the nose by every trivial thought, you begin to see a deeper cause of exhaustion. It's not that you are doing too much, but that your attention is fragmented. Energy leaks through dozens of invisible cracks, notifications, comparisons, future worry, and overanalysis. Auditing your attention is the moment you realize what drains you isn't the work itself, but the noise surrounding it. Then you need a sharper line. The control filter. Not everything deserves your emotional currency. There are things you cannot change. Others' opinions, the weather, the past. Every time you cling to them, you are watering your neighbor's garden while your own goes dry. Stoicism teaches you to return to the only battlefield you ever truly command, your own response. When energy is no longer thrown outward, you begin to rebuild value from within. You stop living by the crowd's scorecard, likes, praise, recognition. You switch to an internal scorecard. The question at the end of the day isn't, "What did they think of me?" but, "Did I keep my promise to myself?" Here, integrity becomes its own reward, requiring no audience. From there, identity begins to shift. Identity is not something you declare, it is something you practice. You don't wait for confidence to act. You act, and confidence emerges as a biological consequence. Every repeated action is a new line written into the script of who you are becoming. But the brain does not believe in promises. It believes in evidence. Thus, you don't need grand victories. You need steady, micro wins. Waking up on time, finishing a difficult task, holding a boundary. These small acts are votes you cast for your new self until doubt has no room left to stand. Parallel to action, you must clean house. The mind is not a trash can. If you let it overflow with bad news, complaints, and others' drama, you will suffer from emotional inflammation without knowing why you feel so heavy. Emotional hygiene isn't about escaping the world. It's about selecting what is allowed to enter your life. As your inner space clears, you notice another thief: comparison. You are using someone else's instrument to measure your own rhythm. Every time you do, you abandon your own path. Stoicism doesn't tell you to disregard others' success. It reminds you to return to your own pace, where you know exactly where you are going. To keep that pace from diluting, you need a North Star, a single priority for this season. Not because other goals don't matter, but because clarity requires sacrifice. When you choose to do one thing deeply, 100 other distractions automatically fall away. In a loud world, clarity only appears when you create space. The hour of silence isn't for hiding, it is for hearing. When you stop consuming, you begin to distinguish your own voice from the echoes of the crowd. Even adversity changes roles. It is no longer proof that you are on the wrong path, but a syllabus you must master to go further. Instead of why, you ask, where is the lesson? From there, failure no longer breaks you, it thickens you. All of this demands boundaries. Every unconscious yes is a no to your future. Stoicism doesn't turn you cold. It turns you into someone who protects their time and energy with intention.
and do not wait until you feel ready. Readiness does not precede action. It is forged by it. You start while trembling, and strength follows. When action is tied to meaning, you don't need motivation. A why that is large enough will pull you through any how. You endure pressure not because you are hard, but because you know what you are carrying. Finally, a quiet reminder holds everything in place. Time is finite. When death stands beside you, the trivial falls away. You prioritize more clearly. You live more truly. Not out of fear, but out of reverence. You don't need to do all 16 things at once. You only need to understand this. Inner boundaries are not ornaments for your spiritual life. They are what keep you from being swallowed by the noise of the age. 6. The 24-hour practice. Small acts, zero noise. Tomorrow doesn't need to be perfect. You only need one piece of evidence that you are the one behind the wheel. Morning. Give yourself a rare moment of stillness. For the first 60 minutes, do not load the world. Don't open your phone as if opening your door to a storm. Sit, breathe, and ask, what virtue will I hold today? Let that one quality be your axis. Noon. When something triggers you, a sharp email, a traffic jam, a heavy deadline, pause for 30 seconds. Separate the event from the label. The event is what happened. The label is the story in your head. Drop the label. Handle the event like a person who is awake. Afternoon. Create a micro win. Pick the task you've procrastinated on most and do it for exactly 15 minutes. No more, no negotiation. Finish it. They won't change your life instantly, but it sends a clear signal to your brain. We are people of action. Evening. Practice emotional hygiene. Review your day and identify one thing that stole your attention. Just one. Then decide to cut it tomorrow. Turn off a notification, unfollow, or say no to a meaningless invitation. You don't need to change your entire life in 24 hours. You only need one movement, enough for your nervous system to understand, I am no longer being controlled. The truth is, 2026 will not be quieter. The noise will grow louder. The comparisons will become more subtle. The distractions will be even more seductive. And the world will always be ready to spend your attention on your behalf. But you don't need a life that sparkles by the standards of the crowd. You only need a mind clear enough not to be pulled away by everything that passes by. You don't need to be always positive. You need boundaries firm enough that you aren't forced to perform. And when you begin to live by your internal scorecard, through your control filters and through those silent micro wins that no one applauds, something strange happens. Peace does not come because the waves have stopped. Peace comes when you learn to steer through the waves without losing yourself. If you truly want 2026 to be the year you take back the wheel, join the Stoic Journey right now. Not to support a channel, but to have a place to return to whenever your mind is pulled in 1,000 directions, whenever you need to remind yourself to live slower, clearer, and more intentionally. And if you are ready, comment a single word. Boundaries. Not for me, for yourself. Let it be a silent oath that from this day forward, you will not let anyone or any noise arbitrarily dye the color of your soul ever again. Peace is not something you find. It is something you protect.